All right, welcome back to the Sky Guys Star Wars Video Game Club, Week 2, Knights of the Old Republic mini-series here, as we are going 5 weeks on Knights of the Old Republic, keeping up with the classic 22-year-old at this point Star Wars game, going through it for people who have never played before for the first time, and people who have played it before. You have some fun with the Easter eggs we're dropping here. I'm your host, Mike Phillips. With me, as always, here, the co-pilot of this podcast, the great Max Roberts here. Max, welcome. How are you?
Greetings, meat bags. I'm doing well. How are you, Mike?
Doing pretty good. Always fun talking to you here. And we got a fun bit of KOTOR to cover this week.
Yes, some pretty significant segments of the game, and we're really getting started on an adventure.
Yep. Also here with us today, our favorite local Zerker Corp representative, Nick D'Alessio, is here. Nick, how are you?
I was gonna ask, how did you know I did everything for the Zerker Corporation, but I think it's pretty obvious that I sided with them. I'm doing great. Week 2, feeling good about KOTOR, playing it again. So happy to be here.
Yeah, Niblin is definitely like the employee of the month for Zerka.
He's employee of the month for a lot of very not great things. Yeah,
Absolutely here. And Nick, just a bit more member here. You want to subscribe to us on the Sky, guys? They can do so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys over at podcast platforms. Final episodes there here. And got a couple more weeks of the KOTOR coverage. Make sure you're locked in and subscribe. You want to get all the fun stuff.
absolutely. It's super easy. It's you just press a button, and if you're wondering like, hey, why should I subscribe to like the YouTube channel? If you don't do that, you're missing out on a lot of great graphics, the LVP boards, the
Videos.
the VOs. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that you're missing out on, so you should definitely subscribe to that and check it out.
Yep, as the Sky Guys podcast YouTube channel. And Max, social media, how can people keep up with us?
You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at Sky Guys Podcast. Or you can email skyguyspodcast at gmail.com, and that will keep you informed of all of this great KOTOR content.
Yeah, I do have to offer one correction here. Is Sky Guys Pod. We still don't know who has Sky Guys Podcast. If you email them up
Oh,
your Star Wars takes, you will not hear from us.
excuse me, skyguyspod at gmail.com, not at podcast.
Yep. So Sky Guys Pod at gmail.com. And we're going to go to our social media comment of the week. This is from our episode 2 weeks ago on the Andor effect on Star Wars. This is from ASAP on TikTok. It says Andor is proof that good writing will make the best Star Wars show ever. We'll have to rely on big cameos or lightsaber fights. So 10 likes on that comment here, including from us. So I think we are all on board with this comment, Nick.
Yeah, it's not really like rocket science, if a show is written well and it's done well, it's a good show. It doesn't have to be good for Star Wars. It could just be good in general. And I think Andor's showing a lot of people that.
Yeah, and Max, I just want to give a shout out to Graham Petty in the comment below here. Says, love Jack Black and Tim Meadows, but not everyone needs to act in Star Wars.
That is very true. And I think this is that comment outside the lightsaber fights aspect is equally applicable to KOTOR, which is, good writing, brand new universe, no cameos, and yet it's one of the most iconic pieces of Star Wars content that there is.
Absolutely here. And not as much Star Wars news as we had last week, Nick, but we do have some interesting stuff to talk about.
There sure is. So I'll kick us off with the Hollywood Reporter. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Mikey Madison, who just won Best Actress at the Oscars for Honora, turned down a role in Star Wars Starfighter as a villain due to a pay dispute.
So she was asking for more money than Disney wanted to give for that role, Max.
Uh, Feels like Disney is not a corporation that needs to be stingy with their money. So that's too bad. I also have not played Star Wars Starfighter. Is that
That's the
oh
Ryan
no,
Gosling.
sorry.
That's the Ryan
I'm getting
Gosling
the name.
movie coming out.
Oh, upcoming film. Okay, but there's also a video game. But yeah, I guess that's their loss, and it is what it is.
All right. What else we got, Nick?
Also, according to the Hollywood Reporter, they noted that Disney's plan of succession after Lucasfilm for Kathleen Kennedy is likely going to be a pairing of Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck, who is the current production head for Lucasfilm. One insider mentioned a concern about Filoni is that he gets too into Star Wars lore and may make content that is too dense for general audiences, saying he's not the Andor guy, he's the Ahsoka guy. And I'm like, they're not wrong. Dave Filoni does tend to get a little
in the
in
weeds.
the weeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max, I think this is a valid criticism here with Filoni. I talked about this before. Like, he gets the lore so much, but I think he's so invested in the lore that, like, sure, the three of us may care about it, but like the average Star Wars fan may not be as like invested in some of the storylines he may be interested in telling.
I think that's fair. I don't know anything about Carrie Beck, and maybe she is the moderating influence on Filoni if she's not like as invested in the lore, but I don't know anything about her personally. But yeah, I think that again, going back to the Andor comment, like that is a situation where you have someone who is not super in the lore making a very popular, very well written show, and you wonder if that can be duplicated if you get very in the weeds about the universe.
Yeah, and I feel bad for Filoni because the he's not the Andor guy, he's the Ahsoka comment definitely has to be tearing him up.
Yeah. Well, he's also the Clone Wars guy, which is excellent, and all the animated content is excellent. So give him credit for that.
Yeah, for sure here. What else we got, Nick?
Andor set a new viewership high for week of May 5th to 11th, registering 830 million minutes watched. That's the third arc.
That's
And it ranked number 5 on the Nielsen streaming charts.
that's the Gorman arc, Max. That's the one that's set new viewership highs, and that makes a lot of sense.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. That is a very highly acclaimed episode.
Yeah. Oh,
It was the two ABY or no two BBY or
it
the
was
one
two it was the two ABY, two BBY.
okay.
All right. And Nick, I think you're gonna love this last one because you were on the pod. We talked about this.
Yeah, I saw a glimpse of it and I was like, ooh, I like this one. Vanity Fair has named Mon Mothma's wedding death dance the song of the summer.
Yeah.
So any party you go to, make sure that song comes on because it is a certified bop. It's a hit.
It's
That
definitely
is a great it's a great banger.
it's a fantastic banger here. And Max, I don't know if you caught that pod when Nick filled in for the other Nick and Pete was here and we watched those episodes. And Pete was not a big fan of the Mon Mothma dance sequence, and the internet has gone against him on that.
Really? And then that was a very good scene and a very catchy song. I mean, if you don't like the scene, the song is really good.
I think he
What's the
felt
problem with it?
it went on too long. That was his argument. But Disney has leaned in. I mean, they put an hour-long version on YouTube. So like they are all in for the memes and making this like the pop culture thing.
Uh, I mean, as they should.
I wonder if there's going to be a TikTok dance for it though, because you can't really dance to it because she's kind of just like flailing a bit. But
I,
I'm sure Disney could figure something out.
people will be doing that.
Have a,
You know it.
Yeah, there's
have a
something.
couple of bottles of Teresa ale and then just dance your heart out.
Yeah. Yeah, just get drunk and just like you don't care, just throw your arms in the air and just, whatever.
Get drunk, you don't care, have one of your closest friends murdered, just the usual.
Yeah. Day in the life of Star Wars here. Is that it for us, Nick?
That's all we got this week on news. Yep.
All right, let's go to week 2 of Nice Old Republic here. We spent a lot of time last week on sort of gameplay mechanics and sort of setting how to play the game. I think this week, Max, we're going to get more into plot and story. I think there's a lot more ground to cover here that is relevant for the course of the game than what we had on Terrace.
Yes, with the exception that I think, because again, I modded it so I'm a Jedi from the start, but I think for you and for Nick, you guys picked your Jedi class and design your lightsaber this week. So that is at least a new-ish gameplay element, right?
Yeah, that's the mechanic here. We get to chorus, we get to Dantooine. That's sort of our thing here. And one thing we didn't mention last week, Nick, we had to talk about our ship here, which is the Ebon Hawk, which we steal from Davic's base at the end of the Taris arc here. And you get basically the cool. I love the color scheme on it. The Millennium Falcon basically is the ship. It's been basically passed from smuggler to smuggler over the course of its history.
Yeah, and it's a cool design too, and it kind of falls into what we were saying last week, where like KOTOR is very familiar but also completely different. So like the ship looks like a ship you would see in Star Wars, and then the Ebon Hawk, obviously it's how you get from point A to point B. But like right out of I guess this is early BioWare, but BioWare loves having like a main ship hub where all your party members are, and you can go around and talk to them. Like if you don't have mission on this next leg with you, you can still check in with her and you can get a lot of good like plot stuff and character development in that. And that's kind of what the Ebon Hawk serves as here. It's your check in with all your party members as you recruit more people. They have their own rooms and they can if you go to mission, I think she makes you like security spikes. If you go to Canderous, he gives you like stimulants. Like everybody can craft things for you on that ship also.
Yeah, Matt, kind of on the nail that Candace is your guy to go to for the roids.
Yes, that seems very, very appropriate. Yeah, T3 makes you the spikes. Alvar can make grenades. Something I guess interesting question I've always thought is like, does Knights of the Old Republic, like the technology, look like it is older than modern day Star Wars, right? Because it's like 3,000 or it's 4,000 years before the original trilogy, but you don't necessarily feel like the tech is older, right? And that's just like that's I think always been like a thing with Star Wars, even like with the prequel trilogies, is that it's in the past, but the technology seems just as new, if not newer.
Yeah, it was also an acolyte problem too. Now that we want to bring that show up, but
Yeah, and but I mean, it's a great design. It's just something that I always noticed was like, oh, these ships look like they could be just as much in place in the original trilogy or even the sequel trilogy era as in 4,000 years before that.
yeah, I love the Ebon Hawk. It's definitely a fun ship, and like you do get like quests throughout the game that sort of tie to the Ebon Hawk's history as a smuggling ship and like stuff that goes on with that. That's fun.
Yes. Actually, I think we also get a quest about Stowaway and the Ebon Hawk. That is, you guys probably got after leaving Dantooine, or I got it after leaving Dantooine.
Yeah, we'll talk about that today because that when you go from Dan to your first planet, which we did Tatooine because the quote unquote canonical order, and I did see that is the order Bastila names them in the game, so that is I think the way they want you to go. So that we'll talk about that here, but we'll go to Dantooine first here. So Max, I know modded his way into being a Jedi from the jump, so this goes very different for him. But Nick and I got to learn here, like, oh, you're getting picked for Jedi training. So this is an interesting spot here where like you get to do your mini Jedi trials with a council of four masters who are there. There's of course the one who looks like Yoda, and then there's a couple like there's a Twi'lek, there's a couple of old dudes who are there just chilling, and you get to learn the Jedi code. You get to build your own lightsaber by finding a crystal, and then you sort of have to solve a problem here. So Nick, Jedi trial experience, how do you feel about that?
So mine was so funny because I didn't like you can go around and like read the terminals and study so you can like, they ask you the questions and you respond to them. I didn't read it. So it's I must look like the biggest like I come in, I'm a complete asshole to everybody. The one older guy, he's like, "Are we sure we want to train this guy?" And then
Yeah.
yeah, it goes from but he's for me, it's justified, it's warranted because I'm clearly like I have like I basically have devil horns at this point. My eyes are like yellow and my skin is pasty white pale and I got every question wrong. It literally took me like maybe like 9 minutes to get every question right. He's like, question run, wrong. And then question one right, question two wrong. Like I kept going back and forth and finally I passed and I'm like, man, they're really desperate for some Jedi here if this is the onboarding process.
Well, they did say they lost a lot of Jedi to the Revan and Malak cause. So, like, if they could just grab a guy off the street who has force ability, sure, why not?
Yeah, but then so I ended up going with I think I chose Jedi Guardian because I didn't even care about like the lore aspects of it. I looked on one of the terminals, you can see the stats. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, well, I'm gonna min max this for sure. So I think I chose the Guardian, and initially I got a blue lightsaber, but eventually very shortly after that I'm dual wielding red lightsabers just to really lean into it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's what I went with when I went that.
Yeah, I think they give you three choices, Max. I believe it's like Jedi, like Consular, Jedi Guardian, and Jedi Sentinel, and they give you like a little quiz where they see which one you're supposed to do, but it doesn't matter because you can pick whichever one you want anyway.
Yeah, I think the Jedi Guardians are more of like good with their lightsaber physical attackers. Then they have fewer force powers. That's what my character is. The Sentinel is what Bastila is, which is like very good with force powers, less good with lightsaber combat. And I think the Consular is in between. So it depends on how you want to play. I wanted to be very like skilled in lightsaber dueling and then use some force powers for support. So that's why I'm with Guardian.
Yeah, I think they recommended Sentinel to me, but I ended up picking Consular. I was like, I'll just go with the balance route.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we get these first two trials. The third one is a big story point here because there is a tainted grove. and you were tasked that you, the humble Padawan who's been a Jedi for 5 minutes, say, please go solve our problem and figure out what the taint in the grove is and cleanse it. So you go out. Basil is not with you. You're taking two of your other party members with you, and you find this character Juhani here who has clearly embraced the dark side. So Nick, I'll go to you first on the dark side playthrough. Did Juhani make it out of the grove, or did you kill her there?
Oh, I absolutely killed her. And I think I messed up because I like because she comes out swinging and you fight her and then it stops and then it gives you the option for some dialogue options. And I've like intentionally been sinking points into persuasion. So like I'm like, oh good, maybe I could talk her into this. But I chose a dialogue option that just immediately aggroed her and just went straight into combat. So I actually got zero dialogue from her, zero interaction, zero anything. She just came out swinging. I fought her. She said something. I was like, "You're gonna die on this hill," and she was like, "Okay." And then that was the end of it.
Yeah.
So, so I don't know anything about her. I don't know any of her story, and I know everybody at the Jedi Temple was very upset that that happened.
I can only imagine because the canonical version is that like you're supposed to talk her off the ledge and get
Yeah.
them back to the light, which is what Variant Sky does this here. And we basically learn, Max, that Juhani thinks she's killed her master and she's decided like I can't go on like this. I feel guilty. I have to just go full dark side here. And can I say like how fucked up is you find out that oh her master's alive. You decided to teach her a lesson.
Yeah. So I mean, I did have to do this trial. I did not kill Juhani, but the Jedi Order was pretty brutal 4,000 years ago. Like, I'm gonna fake my own death so I can show you how easy it is to fall to the dark side. Pretty aggressive training.
Yeah, and then you ask her at one point while you're doing other work on Dantooine, and it's like, oh, like, are you gonna go find your man? It's like, nah, she's gone. Like, I can't even so you can talk to her again.
Yeah. No, so you can wait, you can talk to her after. Oh no, the master. Yes, the
Yeah,
master is just gone. You never get to interact with the master.
yeah, the master went off world. Is never to be heard from again in this game.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, and
Pretty
then
brutal, but I mean she's a good character. She is I mean you kind of get a little bit of her backstory, but her race are the Cathar, and they were wiped out by the Mandalorians during the war. And she talks a little bit about how she was saved by Jedi because it turns out she actually like grew up on Taris, and so she was saved from slavery by these Jedi, and that is what had motivated her to join the Jedi Order. So, in spite of all those noble ideas, she fell pretty hard, and then was redeemed.
yeah, and Nick, we also learned with Juhani too, basically that like, yeah, she got ended up on Taris and dealt with all the racism on Taris that we saw here. So that's sort of one issue.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rely on you guys for anything Johanny related moving forward because she's dead. He doesn't exist in my game anymore. So if anything interesting happens with her, you guys have to be the ones to let me know.
Yeah, she does have some interesting stuff we'll keep an eye on.
I will say, I think in a lot of more modern RPGs, you like can't kill your followers, or there are fewer characters who can die, like, to make sure that you don't miss any important story beats. And it's an interesting throwback to like game design 20, 30 years ago, where like, yeah, everybody is killable. Even this companion, you can just miss this entire section of the game if you make the wrong dialogue choice. You miss out on this companion, like that's just it. That's very it's very interesting to me. I don't think that would fly as much in today's day and age, but it's like a nice harking back to that time.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point here as well. And I think both characters we talk about today you pick up in the party, her and HK-47, we'll get to in a few minutes, are completely missable characters. You choose not to deal with them because you could either like kill Juhani and like Nick did and just not deal with her at all, or you could just go to Tatooine and not buy HK-47 and leave sitting in the shop the whole game.
It's well, I would say you're missing out on probably one of the more iconic characters if you miss out on HK, but we'll get back to him.
Yeah, we will get back to him. And Nick, I think in terms of the other mission here you do on Dantooine is that you are end up being tasked with after you get through this one. I'm not talking about this. We'll talk the side quest from Dantooine in a minute, but like your big job is here. There are some strange ruins out in the middle of nowhere, and you need to go check them out because we need to figure out what apparently Revan and Malik back in the day went there, and you can, we need to figure out what happened there. So You go in, you deal with these like really weird ancient droids, and there's two ways to do this. Nick, as the dark side user, I'm sure you probably just like smooth talk your way right to the map.
So yeah, when I went into there, because you meet that robot and it goes through like a bunch of languages because it's trying to, like calibrate how to interact with you. So yeah, you go into the separate rooms. I like forgot what to do. I didn't know what I was doing. So I kind of like went into the room and I left. I left Bastila and I think Candace fighting with the one robot while I went to the computer. I was just like, you guys will be my human shields. And then
I'll solve the problem.
the computer, the way that I solved it, I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but you have like a data pad, and eventually you just kind of like put it in the computer, say a few things, it calibrates, and then these codes that you can't decipher show up, and then it just asks you basically some pretty basic questions, and it was kind of rinse and repeat for the two rooms, and that's how I was able to unlock everything that way.
Yeah, basically, what end up like the right side version is you basically find this droid. They try to give you a test to see if you're worthy. They ask you some questions, and then you end up fighting droids. And basically, the scenario here, Max, is that like you solve this thing. You go into the room. There's two rooms you have to get to computers for, and you solve like basically logic puzzles. And then you find this thing called a star map. And the star map is basically like, oh, there's this map, and we talked about the star maps got brought into Ahsoka last week. It has information. There are four planets on the star map. Like we need to go follow the path Revan and Malik went on to figure out what they did and why they have this super army. It never seems to be ending.
Yeah, I think the droid, by the way, my audio is working now. Okay.
You're better now.
The droid tells you that the ruins were and the star maps were built by the civilization called the Builders, and they built this thing called the Star Forge. And if you go to, you don't know where it is, but you know that Revan and Malik went to these, they found these ruins, and the ruins have the star map that shows you four different locations. It shows you Korriban, Manan, Tatooine, and Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
And the bachelor wherever we go with is like, oh, we should start there. We should go there for to begin our journey of trying to look for this thing, whatever it may be. Who are the builders? We don't know.
Yeah,
We
it's
know that what
you don't know yet.
we don't know yet. Yeah. We don't know yet, and we know that they built these ruins. That they built this droid, um, and whatever this technology is, it somehow has something to do with Revan and Malik and their Sith Empire.
Yeah, and it's also important to mention, Nick, that like you and Bastila have these visions where you like start you get clues like, oh, like there's this map, but here you get basically a glimpse of where it is, and then like you sort of have to work off of that, try to find your way where it is.
Yeah, and that becomes a common thing too. Like when you land on a planet, which when we start talking about Tatooine, you kind of get like a almost like a glimpse of where the next star map piece, the Star Forge kind of thing is. Um, and yeah, you that we'll also talk more about like, character developments and stuff, but you and Bastial's relationship comes into play in a lot of the things moving forward.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the before we get off of Dantooine, let's talk about some of the side quests here. So Max, we had a murder logic puzzle, and this is a very interesting one because while you're exploring, trying to find these ruins, you run into one of the Jedi Masters there. He's conducting a murder investigation because there's a dead body in the middle of a field. There's two guys there who both claim the other one shot him, and he says, "Okay, test time. You're going to do the interrogations. I have a droid here who did blood analysis, and you're going to figure out who killed this person." So I think it's a very well written logic puzzle. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Can I spoil the result of the logic puzzle?
Sure.
So the result is that they both were attempting to kill this person for different reasons. One was cheated on business deals. One, the dead person was having an affair with his wife. One of them, the one who was having the affair, he shot the person, and then he was shot by the guy in the business deals, thinking it was the dead guy. And it turns out both of them were murdering or attempting to murder this person. I thought it was like a very interesting kind of quest fact-finding exercise. You have to like piece together like, okay, what's the motive? Who's lying? How do they know about this? Like for instance, the very first question one of the guys is like, "Oh, I saw like I was hunting birds and I saw like the glare of I couldn't see the bird through like the glare of the sun." But then the droid tells you like it wasn't a sunny day, it was raining. So then you go back to the Jedi Master and you're like, this guy's lying because he said it was sunny and it wasn't sunny. And you kind of go through this different exercise until you piece together everything. So it's a very interesting quest. I liked it a lot. KOTOR has a couple of these like dialogue heavy quests that are like very, very enjoyable to try and piece together.
Yeah, it's a very interesting like logic puzzle here. And Nick, I will say it's very interesting as well that like the Jedi there probably knows that they're both guilty and is still like, here's a life lesson for you, kid. You figure out who killed this guy.
So let me explain to you what happened with me. So I walked up to the bridge. The Jedi was there, and he was like, "Hey, you, I need your help." And usually in these games, so far, my experience in this game has been I can be a real piece of shit to you right off the bat, but we'll eventually get to the decision like, can I help you or not? So he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, I need your help." And I think I literally said to him, I was like, "I don't have time for your bullshit tentacle head," or something like that. And he just runs away.
Yeah, so he's
He ran away. I chased after him in the field. I was like, "Wait, come back!" And it was like the slowest like chase throughout the
resolved.
field, and he never came back. And I didn't get the quest, and so it's just the end of it.
So you did. So you basically like you basically said, okay, fuck this guy. I just arrested both of them.
I thought I could like be racist towards him, and but then he would still want me to help him. But no, he like I like hurt his feelings. This is the only time in the game that this has happened. He literally was like, "Oh, never mind," and just head down and ran away. It was I was like, okay, well, I guess I don't get that quest, but all right.
Yeah, I did love the twist that like they both did it. It's a very fun mechanic that you don't get in like it's very simple. Like, oh, like one of them did it, and like I forgot that they both did. So like I sort of like went for the angle. Oh, like they're clearly make you think it's the one guy, and I guess the other guy is like, oh wait, it's both of them. Now I have to hope that we arrest the other guy in time.
I'm missing out on a lot of Dantooine content apparently.
Yeah. Speaking of Dantooine content here, Max, we have to talk about Elise and her sex droid. This is a very bizarre side quest we get.
Yeah, so when you leave the Jedi Temple, you encounter this woman, Elise, and she's like, "My husband built this droid for me. My husband's gone now. I, the droid ran off. Can you go recover it for me?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure. That sounds innocent enough." You encounter this droid, later on in Dantooine, and it's being attacked by these, I think they're called craft hounds. They're like the dog-looking things, right?
Yep, the wolf,
Um,
basically.
yeah. And you save the droid thinking, oh, you're doing a good deed. The droid's like, no, I was trying to die because my human companion is using me for like it's a sex droid. And I think that her relying on me so much is alienating her from making like getting out there and meeting other humans. So I'm trying to kill myself to help her. And you have to decide whether to kill the droid or to save the droid and bring it back to the owner, which is what I did. And if you do that, then later on, if you go into the Jedi Temple into like one of the back rooms, you can like see her in the droid. Like, I mean, you don't actually see it, but like it's implied that they were like doing it in that room. It's hysterical.
Yeah, I was also on the direction of like I did convince them to go back. I did find them later, like, oh, this is a very funny thing I stuck into a video game in 2003. Nick, what was your experience with this quest?
So I found, well, obviously I made fun of her for, as much as I possibly could. Enough to get some dark side point. My dark side at the end of both of these planets, it doesn't get any lower right now. I'm like as evil as it can be. Um, so I made fun of her for being so obsessed with the robot. I found the robot, um, told him that I'm going to kill you, but I'm also going to tell the lady that you're still alive and send her out here to look for you. So then I did that. And then when I went back to the lady, she was kind of like she was so upset that the robot was dead, she just kind of ran away into the embassy thing. And then she meets a new guy immediately. She's like, in my sadness, I found this guy and I love him now, and we're gonna be happy. And I was just like, okay, cool. Money, please. I was like, you owe me money. And then I like forced her to pay me and got more dark side points.
Yeah, so like you
Nick
kind
did a good thing.
you did a good thing. They extorted her for money.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, this is dangerously getting close to maybe light side points. I need to extort her for money.
Yeah, so he's all in.
Yeah,
You
and it's just it's
inadvertently
funny how
helped her.
fast. It's funny how fast she like moves on too. She's just like, this robot, I'll never live again. Literally 30 seconds later, I met somebody. Like,
Yeah,
Nick inadvertently helped her move on. Mike and I kept her glued to her robot. Who's the real villain in this story?
yeah, seriously.
yeah. Well, clearly Niblin's more of a benefit to her than we were.
Oh, also, I found out my character's name is Nilbin, not Niblin, but
Yeah.
I've said Niblin so much it's canonically Niblin. I don't care what the text says.
Okay, so
Very iconic.
two other side quests here, real quick. You run. Apparently, there are Mandalorian mercenaries roaming around, basically beating up farmers for stealing their stuff. That's pretty cut and dry. You deal with them. The other one here, you get to deal with a Romeo and Juliet-esque family feud between the Sandrels and the Matalis. The Jedi Council, again, in their wisdom, puts the rookie on the case for us. Like, okay, we don't have time for this. You young kid, go deal with this one. And there's a lot of stuff going on where like one son's dead, one family kidnapped the other son, the daughter of the family is in love with the son of the other family, and there is a potential war here going on here. So, Nick, I'm assuming incited the war between the two families.
Okay, so I feel like every time you ask me about my playthrough, I start off with, okay. Um, so you break into like the compound because you go to the first compound and he's like the Metalli guy, he's like my son's there, blah blah blah. So you go there and you meet the daughter and she's like, he's here, but he didn't do anything wrong. Help me break him out. I can't go with you because my father will know, blah blah blah. So eventually you get them all out and it leads to a confrontation on the bridge where it's both families on both sides and they actually like resolved the conflict themselves. Like the one guy on the Metalli guy was like, "Listen, like I just want my son back," and then the other guy was like, "I know you didn't kill my son. Like we can be friends." And then it came up to me, and one of the options was lie, and I was like, actually, I found evidence that he did kill your son.
Yes.
And the guy was like, "What? You son of a bitch." And they all murder each other one by one. Like the guy shoots the daughter, then the other guy shoots the son, then they shoot each other, and then the droids clean up the rest, and then I mop up the last few droids. And I got a lot of dark side points for that.
May I ask who your party members were for that?
What's that?
Ask was in the party with you for that
So
mission.
it's funny because it's always it's Bastila and then it was Canderous. So Canderous was like, let's do this, let's get them. And every time I do something really evil, Bastila is like, that's not a good thing. That's how you become on the dark side. Like, no, no. But I just keep
It's
doing it
very
anyway.
preachy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could track her about preaches at one point here, and I think like Max and I probably went the same way where we kind of solved the problem where like the kids get together and the parents still fight with each other.
I was able to persuade the parents to let the kids go and buy them like a separate house because they were like, "Oh, well, I'm okay with my son marrying the
Water.
Mattel girl, but I don't want them to live with you." And then the guy's like, "Well, I don't want them to live with the Sandrells." And the daughter's like, "Well, okay, it sounds like you're just buying us a house." And they're like, okay." So I got it without a fight. That scene probably has one of my like favorite pieces of dialogue from this game. They do the whole like, Father, Mr. Mattel, son, Mr. Sandrell. I don't know if we can pull it up, but I was like dying of laughter that they did that in this game.
Yeah, when I saw that scene when they're all shouting each other's names here, I just imagine at the end of it, Peter Griffin popping up and shouting Roadhouse.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I envisioned too.
Yeah, so that's Dantooine pretty much right here. And now we'll go to the first place I go to is Tatooine here, and we get to meet our new entity Zerka Corp, who is basically evil big business. That's basically the way I would describe them, Max.
Yeah, they have set up a bunch of like mining operations on or colony operations on a bunch of different planets. When this game was canonical, one interesting tidbit you find out is that they were the ones who brought the sand crawlers over to Tatooine.
Yeah.
So the Jawas who inhabit them, they got them from the Zorka Corporation. It was part of the Zorka Corporation's mining efforts. They find Tatooine to not be mineable, though all the ore is like not useful, and so they have like this failing colony. But they are still willing and able to exploit the native populations as much as possible.
Yeah, they're basically like just trying to get what they can out of here. They're trying they will not give up on the on the mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Nick, this is a fun episode here because when you deal with Zerka, and I'm sure you were beloved by Zerka, they said, we have a problem with the sand people. They keep attacking our guys. So can you help us deal with this here? And one of the options here is you can get a droid that can talk to sand people. So, and this is our friend HK-47 here. I know Max loves that HK-47. So I want to talk about probably one of the greatest Star Wars droids of all time, probably the most murderous droid before Chopper.
Oh yeah, and it's I love what he does where he like announces kind of like the mood because he's very like he's a robot like it's still kind of he's not monotone totally, but he's like he'll say like excited remark and then like but that says the remark in the exact same tone and I just love that for a character when they announce how what they're feeling. Also at this point in the game we're like getting pretty high level because I'm like fighting everything. I have a rule when I play RPGs. I do not run from an encounter, regardless of how many times I encounter it. So at this point now, I have an ability called Dominate Mind. So it's like it's the second version of like the force persuasion thing. So I get additional options in dialogue that aren't there for you guys. And I'm basically at the point where like I didn't pay for him. I
He
like the guy was just kind of like he was like oh
threatened
yeah, this droid, if you're gonna help with the sand people, this droid's good for you. And I was like, okay, cool, cool. Give him to me. And the guy was like, no, no, you got to pay me for it. I'm gonna lose all my money if I don't. And I was like, okay. Um, no, you're gonna give him to me or else you're gonna die. And then he did it. So like I heist to the center, I took that droid for free.
To be fair, I think HK-47 does tell you like this guy's a wuss. You could threaten him and get the price lower at minimum.
Oh, he does say this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't even let it
yeah.
get to that point. Like even in the Hunter's Lodge, I went into the Hunter's Lodge and I started with every single person, made them leave because I was like, you either get out of here or I'm gonna kill you. And I got dark side points for every single time I did that.
Yeah, definitely a fun experience here. But Max, HK-47 has a lot of fun because, like, as Nick said, like he's very sarcastic. He loves to kill people, and he starts off his dialogue where like he'll like announce what he's doing. He's like, statement, this is a problem, or like question or query. So like and like he's very sarcastic, and he calls all humans meatbags.
Yeah, BioWare actually they have this species in the Mass Effect games that did the exact same thing where like they preface the tone of everything that they're saying and it's clearly based on HK-47. Yeah, he is you think he's like a protocol droid, but no, he's like an assassin droid, like a C3PO, but if he liked to murder people. If you choose light side options or don't kill people, he is actually upset at you. So I imagine Nick, he loves my character. He is more displeased with because I don't just go around killing people.
Yeah,
Um,
he's probably
but
like he's like, man, you're not fun.
yeah, but the useful thing with him is that he some for some reason knows the Sand People language. So when you are looking for when you're sent out by Zerka Corporation to go kill the Sand People leader, uh, you bring him along as a translator. I actually have no idea how to do that quest without him, unless you just kill them all.
Yeah, you just brute force it otherwise, which I'm sure Nick did.
Yes. Can confirm. Yes.
All right. And another fun thing about HK-47 too is that like he has a lot of sass and like I think the way to describe him, Max, is like you think he's gonna be your C3PO, but like if C3PO and Chopper had a kid, it would be HK-47.
Yeah, I like that. Like he's very intelligent, very eloquent, but he is very snarky. He calls all humans meatbags, except for you. And he was like, except for you, Master, you're not a meatbag. Um, if you try and repair him, he'll like, and you don't have sufficient repair skills to restore his memory, he'll like demean your skills. He's like, Master, meatbag, I mean, Master, I would prefer if you like not do that. Maybe we could try this again later or something.
Yeah,
Um,
you can call out to. He's like, "Are you saying I'm inept?" He's like, "No, no, no, just don't, please don't touch me."
He is, yeah. He's very, very iconic. I will say I think I enjoyed him more when I was like a teenager, but he's still a phenomenal character. Also one of two characters that makes it into KOTOR 2 from the original game that you can have.
Well,
Um,
three technically. We'll talk about that one off air.
okay. But yes, he is he's a big staple of the KOTOR series.
He is, and we'll talk about the Sand People quest that you sort of go on here while with him, and like Nick, we can waste no time. Nick just literally said, "Okay, I'll just do Zerka's Dur, go kill everybody. HK-47 mow down a bunch of sand people here." You can use HK-47 to translate for the sand people because, like, one of the things is you sort of get attacked in the Dune Sea by sand people. You steal some disguises and you go ahead and like walk in, and then the funniest thing, Nick, is like if you do that way, like when you first walk in there, like apparently the dialogue tree is like they are shocked you got in the building.
So I actually did do that. I didn't just I didn't initially just mow down everybody. I was like, let me at least see if like I can get in there and maybe I can do something for the sand people or maybe, but then once I got in there and I met with their leader, I realized I was like, this is feeling like
Like,
they want me to go against the Zerka Corporation. And I'm like, well, I got this far. And then I was like, tell them they're about to die. And he's basically like, hell yeah, brother. And then we did it.
yeah, definitely a lot of fun there with that one. And the light side version of this match is basically like you go in, you talk to them, and they sort of come with this idea like, okay, like if you can like bring us like some like moisture evaporators so we can met some water, like you do that, we will like stop we will lower the attacks and we'll give you like our
They
gas.
won't stop the attacks. They will only lower the attacks.
Yeah, and I think Zerka asks you to lower them, so you're okay if you do it that way. But can I give you a funny point about my thing?
Yes.
So like I did the light side thing, you trigger the side quest. Oh, you can learn that history. You're in the Great Dragon Pearl. And then like I go out, like I was trying to talk to like one of them. I accidentally like opened a crate, and then the whole place went nuclear on me.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's one of the places that you can't loot everything, like in most RPGs.
Yeah.
Um, I think I think the benefit of doing the light side way is that you get some very interesting lore about the background of the Sand People, like that they were once a teeming civilization. Tatooine has water, but they were enslaved by some sort of master race, which I think they say it's the Builders.
I'm pretty sure they do
They were
too.
but they were enslaved by this race. They like fought and rebelled eventually, and Tatooine was bombarded into being the desert that it is as a result of all of this.
Yeah. That's definitely something worth mentioning here. And
So I don't know. I it is well,
yeah, you're having a little bit of tech issues, looks like.
We can hear
oh
you now. Yeah.
gosh.
Now we can hear you. But anyway,
I was yeah, just I just think it's I don't know. I think you get some very interesting background lore about the Sand People and like the history of Tatooine if you choose not to kill all of them.
yeah, I want to do that, but again, one misclick, I had to murder the whole compound, but I did not get dark side points for it because they attacked me.
You didn't like save load a previous save and do it over. You just rode with it.
I was like, at this point, like it's like it is what it is.
Right. Okay. You
Yes,
also you get a if you choose so if you I think there's somebody in the Zerka Corporation that every time you kill a sand person, you get their
happy stick.
what's their weapon? Yeah, you get those. You make money for every single one of those that you get, and then also if you get the leaders, you get a lot of money. So I have so much money right now that like every time you go to a shop and it's like a person's named armor, I can just buy it. Like I don't even have to. It's just ready to go.
Yeah, definitely some fun stuff there, and you do find out later on that like Nick, I'm curious about this since you scared the hunters off here, like how you dealt with the crate dragon because like one of the keys here is that the star map you find out is in the crate dragon's lair. The sand people do tell you that, so you go
Mhm.
there and you have to kill the crate dragon to get inside and get to the map. So how did you do this?
Yeah, so there's when you go there, there's a Twi'lek and a regular guy. I
Oh,
don't remember their names.
oh, it's the same thing. It's two of the other hunters you chased out of the lodge.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but they're like they see me coming and they're like, oh crap, it's this guy, But then the first guy runs in and he dies. So then I helped out the Twi'lek guy because he set I had so much bantha fodder anyway. So you he set up a bunch of mines in front of the cave. I went and gathered up a bunch of bantha to like lure out the dragon. And I didn't have to fight the dragon. The mines kill the crate dragon and he falls over and the guy was like, great, I can my father like couldn't do this, like I got the pearl, we can split them 50-50. And I was like, nah, we're not splitting this 50-50. I'm taking everything. And the guy was like, you can't do that. I'll defend this on my life. And I was like, okay. So then I killed him and I got both pearls and then I went in the cave.
Yeah, so basically it's the same mechanism. Is that like you basically like trap like do the same like technique that I use to kill the Rancor on Tatooine. Basically, you do that strategy.
Is there a way? Can you just fight the crate dragon? Like,
I think you walk in, you instantly die.
oh, so you have to go with
Or with
like the
this guy.
mining route. Right. I guess so then the difference being is like, do you want to side with the guy afterwards, like split the pot, or do you want to like betray him? And I at that point I had Bastila and um
HK
oh my God.
47,
No, I had the
Canderous,
Andrus?
no, the first guy you meet.
Arth.
I'm
Karth.
Karth. Jeez. Oh my God. I'm like, how did I forget Karth's name? Because I'm pretty consistently swapping people out because I want to get the full backstories on everybody. Bastila and Karth were never more disappointed in me than they ever have been when I betrayed the guy. Karth is like, come on, man, there's like an unspoken word here. You're not supposed to betray him. And Bastila is like, if you keep doing like this, you're gonna end up on the dark side. And again, I have devil horns and yellow eyes. Like, yeah, that's how that went with me.
Yeah, so anyway, after this happens here, we do get the last major story event is that like you run into the bounty hunter Calo Nord, who we originally ran into on Taris. Somehow he escaped. He is the one person other than the like Undercity people who managed to not die on Taris. And then Malik sends him after you to kill you and get Basel or whatever. And you fight him and you pretty quickly kill him.
Yeah, I have no idea how he survived Terrace because when you fight him on Terrace, there is like a bunch of rubble that falls on top of him. And for him to like get out of that rubble and then escape this planet that's being bombarded, I guess that's supposed to show like how powerful he is. But logically, I'm like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Fight is reason. I don't know. I had by this point in the game, I think worked on like the stun power pretty thoroughly. Like that's the light side version where you're not draining people's health, but you're like freezing them. So my strategy was always like freeze as many people as you can, and you go in and you just attack them as many times before they unfreeze. So it took a couple of attempts, but eventually I was able to kill him. You get some pretty good armor, his blaster, and everything. Um, but yeah, you said you found the fight easy?
Well, I mean, like again, I'm playing on like basically like story mode just to get through the game pretty quick.
Fair enough.
So like, but
I
like he's an interesting character though because like he's a man of very few words. Where like you talk to him, he'll like speak in like 3 word sentences, and if you like, he has no issue for you. Like he's like, leave me alone or I'll murder you.
Oh yeah, the first on Terrace there's like some people trying to harass him and he's just like one. And they're like, "What are you talking about? Why are you counting two? Like what are you doing three?" And then he shoots them all.
Yeah,
So
he's
not
fun.
like a badass bounty hunter type.
Yeah, he's fun. I wish we had him longer in the game.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he like followed you around to a bunch of different planets and like tried to kill you each time, but you kill him pretty early.
All right, let's go to Tatooine side quests here. There's a couple of ones here. There's a bunch of stuff with the hunting lodge you can do, like including like you run into this one hunter who like basically is pissed his wife at the point she sets his hunting droids out to murder him, and definitely I'm assuming Nick left him to die.
So you're gonna now that I have the mind control power, you're gonna see a common theme to basically everything that I do is I help them to the point where they want to give me a reward, and then I either make them give me more than they want to, or I kill them.
Yeah.
So I actually did the puzzles with all the droids. Like I manually went in and solved each puzzle, and then he was like, "Oh my God, you're a lifesaver," and I was like, "Yeah,
Like pay up.
money, please." Yeah. That's basically rinse and repeat for me on Tatooine is basically how I resolved everything.
So you just you solve problems, you extort them for money afterwards.
I solve their problem and then I make them, yeah, and then I extort them.
And you're like whatever your reward is, double it.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, so that's one mission here. Bastila's mother here. Max and I missed this on the playthrough here. So interesting situation here is that we run to Bastila's mom. She's on apparently she's dying. She's on the planet in Cantina, and she wants you to look for her. Like Bastila's father died there trying to hunt the crate dragon, and you basically have to look for his holocron. And then you basically the mission here, if you're on the right side, is that you're trying to help Bastila reconcile with her mother, which I think does trigger a romance subplot with Bastila if you do it correctly.
Yeah, and then so right, you find the holocron in the cave, and then I'm curious if anything different happened with you, Mike, because um she like kind of when you finally bring the holocron to her mother, she doesn't give it to her mother. She for me, she kept it, and then she basically was like, I don't even need to read this. I don't need to know any of my past. And also like, Mom, I hate you and never speak to me ever again. And that's kind of how that played out for me. I'm wondering if that was any different for you.
Now, like the light side version, you can get them to reconcile to the point where
Oh, okay.
where like Bastila gives her some money and says, "Go find a doctor on Coruscant. I'll meet you. I'll meet you down the road."
Oh, okay. Bastila cut her mother out completely. And her mother was like, I was going to give you that holocron anyway. And she's like, I don't even need this. I don't need any reminders of my past, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sending Bastila down a totally different path.
Hey, you're a bad influence.
I guess so.
Yeah, and Max, any thoughts on this quest? I know didn't get to play it because you missed it the first time, but
Um, I did watch the video of it. I think you see a little bit of where Bastila's like pompousness comes from because her mother is like also slightly displeasurable. And I can see how that rubbed off on Bastila. Uh, I guess the dark side version is just like cutting out your family. Light side version is trying to reconcile, making peace with your past a little bit.
yeah,
And, it's a good illumination in her character. Bastila, like I think Nick said this in the last episode, or you said this in the last episode. Bastila like comes off very rough, but she is probably one of the more interesting people in terms of like her backstory and her thoughts and pursuits and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. Two other side quests I want to touch on here real quick in terms of we meet Mission's brother Griff because we find him on Dantooine. If Mission's out there with you, Lena, the ex-girlfriend, runs up and says, "Oh, like Griff abandoned me on Tatooine, trying to go look for some like magic money making scheme, and he wanted to leave you behind, so you were gonna slow him down. So you get there, he's been captured by the Sand People, so you could free him. Nick possibly murdered or extorted him at that point when he found him in the compound.
I tried to, but Mission wouldn't let me. So we freed him.
Reluctantly,
I was like, I could just kill you right now. And Mission's like, no, don't kill my brother. Like, yeah, he's a piece of shit, but we don't need to kill him. And then, so he goes back to the,
Circa.
um, yeah, and then he gives you a side quest that I guess
Talk about next week.
we'll talk about next week because we literally can't go any further with that side quest yet.
It's basically his mission is, oh, like Taris got bombed. I have a business proposition for you. If you can get me the tack glands so I can make Teresian ale and sell it, like you will make a lot of money. That's his that's his new idea. His new get rich quick scheme.
I just realized that his name is Griff, and the thing that Mission realizes about him is that he's involved in a lot of grifts, and I
Yeah.
am realizing that was very intentional.
Yeah.
But the part of the backstory is that Mission like she idolizes her brother, and she thinks that Lena was some harlot who like took her brother away from her. And when you meet Lena on Tattoo or Dantooine, Lena's like, no, like I wanted you to come along. Griff didn't want you to. And Mission's eyes start to open up, and she's like, oh, maybe my brother isn't as perfect as I once thought that he is. I need to have some words with him.
Yeah.
Um,
If you ever see the cartoon where like you see like it just zooms all the way in on the person when they have the big realization, that's Mission on Dantooine.
yeah, or like the head explodes all of a sudden.
Like what?
Yeah,
Mission also finds it every time I force mind control somebody. If Mission's in your party, she's like, "Whoa, that's cool. You can just do that." So I don't know if I think I'm just like warping everybody around me, but everyone's starting to be like, "That's cool that you can do that," and I'm like, "That's how I make all my
actually,
money."
Mission and Bastila, because we were mentioning last week that your characters can have these like different interactions with each other. So Mission and Bastila are like one of my favorite interactions, which is that Mission is asking Bastila like, "Hey, do you ever just use your force powers for fun?" And Bastila's like, "No, like why would I ever do that? Like, of course I'm not using it for fun." And Mission's like, "Come on, you must do that." And she's like nagging Bastila, and all of a sudden you see Mission just get like pushed. And Mission's just like, "What just happened?" And Bastila's like, "I didn't do anything. I was just having some fun." So she just like force pushes Mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was able to get that one to trigger. Yeah, that's really funny when that happens.
Yeah, I did love like one of the fun ones is I think last week on Terrace, like when I'm in Davik's mansion, that like I have Canderous and Bastila, and Canderous basically is razzing on Bastila for getting captured by the Black Vulkars. That was funny.
That is funny.
Yeah. All right, a couple other,
Uh,
the two other sagas I'll mention very quickly here. That Tatooine has two of the worst side quests in the video game. Between the stowaway, which is basically a looping nonsensical dialogue thing where a girl stows on your ship and is stealing the food, which Zalbar finds out, and then you have to interpret her language and bring her home, which that's such a waste of time. And Nick's like, just fuck you, leave.
Guess what? You can just tell her to go on and get, and
Yeah,
she does.
yeah, yeah.
So
You
I kicked her right off my ship. I was like, "You want to know where your home is? It's back the way you came."
Yeah. And then Max, there's also the Gizka where you land on Tatooine and like this dude's laying in the port like, oh, you got a delivery here. And you're like, this is not my delivery. He's like, too bad it's on your ship. You got these annoying little creatures who multiply and just cause mayhem.
yeah, the quest is a Star Trek reference to the trouble with Tribbles, so it's called the Trouble with Giska. And I like you can't do anything with them until a later planet, but for now they just like pop around your ship and are populating everywhere, and it
Uh,
just makes your ship very like cluttered.
Oh, you can do something about it now.
Don't kill
Oh,
them.
oh,
Whatever.
yes,
No,
you're right.
I did
You
kill them.
can kill them.
I did not get what dark side points for that though.
You don't get dark side points for killing them, but every time you kill them, they more show up. And I like,
But you have
I
to
was
Oh,
like,
no,
I kept killing them over and over again, and I was like, surely there's gonna like trigger something,
no,
right? And
no,
then it like pans out, and there's like 15 of their dead bodies just on the floor, but they're still hopping around everywhere.
no. I'm talking about he's like you can literally go to the stand right there and buy Gizka poison.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I'm walking around the Ebon Hawk strangling them one by one, thinking like this is what I gotta do. And they just keep multiplying every time I do that. I didn't know you could just poison them right away.
You can
yeah, you
poison them
can
right
poison them.
away. There's also, I think, there's an option on Manon we'll get to in like next week where you can get rid of them that way.
I'm going back to
Yes,
Tatooine.
that's the like good option, I guess, or at least the neutral option. But yeah, you can buy poison from the weird alien looking shopkeeper in the port
Is
and
you
poison
That's
them
so
all.
funny.
just do that, you feed one the poison, then they're gone.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah. If you kill them on the ship, they just keep multiplying. There's like 40 dead bodies on the Ebon Hawk, and I have no idea what to do.
Yeah. All right. So quickly, we'll wrap up here some character related backstory notes here. So Karth distrusts you. And you find out basically, Max, that it's because he got betrayed by his mentor, Saul Karath, who defected to the Sith and led the bombing of his home planet. So Karth does not trust you, no matter how hard you try, for a while.
Yeah, Karth's distrust of you is understandable given that he's been betrayed by these heroes of the Republic and his mentor Saul, who you see in I think the cutscene where Malik says to bomb Terrace. But he's also like, don't you think this is so strange? Like you're just sent off on a mission by yourself. You're a Padawan. Like how'd you end up with Bastila ship? Like he is very, very, very suspicious of you.
Apparently,
And
yeah, apparently, according to Karth, you were a last minute addition by Bastil's request.
Yeah. So he's like, this is all so weird, and I already don't trust people, so why would I trust you? And you can like kind of placate him, but he his distrust of you is like when you listen to it, like, yeah, that actually seems kind of reasonable.
Yeah, and we're not like our buddy Trask, who was always on board. We just showed up one day and we're there, and all of a sudden we imagine the only guy who survived the crash.
We need a Trask tracker to see how many times you bring up Trask or say justice for Trask.
We'll talk about it again next week with Justice for Trask. We actually do get justice for him.
Right, yeah.
All right, we talk about Juhani a little bit. The Candorous war stories. Are these interest to you?
I
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
he he has actually this game incorporates a lot of very interesting aspects of the EU. So one of the war stories that you hear, he's talking about how he was like pursuing some pirates and smugglers through an asteroid field, and he like bombed an asteroid and it turned out to be a living ship. And I was like, oh, that's like a Yuzhan Vong thing, who were these like extra galactic civilization in the EU that had living technology. And it's just like, I mean, the war stories are cool that he's like made out to be this giant badass, but just the kind of the depth of knowledge and like the amount of content that used to be in Legends that was like brought in and just kind of knocked out by Disney. I was like, oh, that's sad. Like this was all really cool stuff. It's now just like not canon. And BioWare knew it and they were referencing it.
Yeah, and Nick, I do also want to point out here that as you get deeper into these stories, as like you sort of get more information as you level up here, like dude idolizes Revan because like Revan was a badass in the battle. Like I respect that he was the one Jedi that could beat us.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, it's yeah, it's just interesting because at a certain point, do you guys feel like maybe this is just me like wondering, but do you feel like is he like not making up some of these stories, but do you think he's like really like over exaggerating the details of it to try and make him sound bigger, or do you think like he actually did all of these things in these stories? Because some of the things are pretty wild and out there.
I think he actually did these things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think he's a guy who's gonna make it up because like he complains about the Mandalorians who are just robbing people. He's like they're not real Mandalorians
that's true. Yeah, he does
He
get very
does.
he gets very upset at the Mandalorians on Dantooine for just like
eating up
not
farmers.
not looking not looking
Farmers'
at the
rights.
bigger picture. Yeah, for doing smaller stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very like a Mandalorian code purist. Like I don't know how he would fit into the Clone Wars era with the Death Watch, if they were siding with Maul. He respects the thrill of the battle, but later on you kind of see that maybe he feels conflicted about his past and what he became and what he wants to do with his life, that he kind of feels like he doesn't really have like a purpose.
I think
So
he's
it's like a
definitely.
very
I think he's the proto Bo-Katan, where like he's definitely on the Death Watch side, and then he starts to regret it later.
yeah, that actually sounds right.
Yeah. All right, so the last one here, the last character-related subplot you sort of get into because you can't really do much of a mission in Zalbar, and T3's just there chilling the whole time. He doesn't really do much other than make you spikes and beep and boop. But like Bastila, if you solve the mother quest right, like you do get the romance Bastila subplot. That's an option that does pop up during the game.
Wait, so is it trigger right afterwards?
It's
Like when
basically
you go
like
back on the Ebon Hawk?
after you do it, if you're at a high enough like story level with her, like you get to that point.
Okay, because I haven't actually left Tatooine. Like I'm at the point where I'm about to get on the Ebon Hawk and go to the next planet. So I think
Mhm.
I'll probably unlock some more dialogue stuff there. But for every time I'm such a sleaze. Every time Bastila is like, I've been thinking about you. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure you have been, Bastila. And she's like, no, not like that. And she gets really flustered every single time. She's like, I've just never met anybody like you. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure you haven't. Like I'm just a real. Anytime there's an option that makes me be like a really slimy person, I do it with her, and she gets so flustered every time.
Yeah, you're trying to like be like the bad boy, basically.
Yeah, yeah, and I wonder if that will work for the romance with Bastila or not. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, so we'll see you next week if that triggers here. And speaking of next week, we'll be back. We'll continue here. Our next two planets on the board here. We're going to Kashyyyk first, and then Manan. And Manan, as Max is a lawyer in real life, that is the perfect place for Max to offer some legal commentary.
Which is don't represent. We'll get there. But yeah, that poses some very thorny ethical issues if this was actually a real case.
Yeah, it's a very fun like it's a we talked about the writing before, like probably one of the most well-written side quests in an RPG I've ever seen.
Yeah, the this is like a peak BioWare game. Everything's well written. They make you really do like this fact finding, logic puzzling, putting things together. Even like when you're rescuing the droid, or not the hunter from the droids on Tatooine, it's like math puzzles. And I'm like, oh, that's like I would not see that in today's video gaming. It's
And
fun.
can I also throw out as a teaser for you next week, Nick? I cannot stand the Cellcaf people. They irritate the living shit out of me.
I'm curious. I don't remember. So we've officially hit the point of the game where like I don't really remember what happens next, except for like way later on in the game. So I'm like, why are you telling me this? I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Niblin does with the Cellcaf legal system.
uh, I'm sure he'll find a way to mind force his way through it. So we'll see.
All right, so that's it for this week. I want to thank you guys for coming on here as always. Nick, you want to tell us real quick how to follow you on Twitch? I know you're playing through the game with like people can follow along live with you.
Yep. So go to twitch.tv/the recovery room. And yeah, like you said, I'm playing live streaming my entire playthrough of this game. So if you want to, I guess the streams will be a little bit ahead of the episodes because of the recording schedule. But if you want to see Niblin in all of his glory extort the entire galaxy, that's where you check it out.
Yep, and Max, one more time, people want to follow us on social media, how they do that.
at Sky Guys Podcast, or you can email us at skyguyspod@gmail.com.
Yep. You can also check me out on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS 331. This week over on the Just on the Suffering podcast. We do some baseball talk here. And Nick, both the BR baseball teams are doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's always fun when New York teams are doing well. I wish, my New York Rangers were doing well, but it's fine. Well, we have next year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here with that. We'll be back next week. We'll be back again to talk about Kashyyyk and Manon. We'll find star maps number 2 and 3. I guess 3 and 4 technically because Dantooine has his own star map. But until then, may the force be with you.